give us areas of concern, we can look at it at that time.
Mention that.
If they want it.
Clerk just made mention that if you would like us to redraft the parking bylaw,
We are.
you know,
We are going to.
we can do that with recommendation from council. They can look at the whole municipality. Like Larry says, there's might be 2 spots out there that, you know, and Victoria's another one.
So just make the submissions to myself. of
But we
areas
have
that-
this one right now.
Yeah.
Motion, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But we could look at the whole parking bylaws. Yeah, okay. So we have the motion on the floor. Ready for the question? All in favor of that motion? Motion carries. Okay, Deputy Mayor Malash. Oh. Oh, did you? Well, we'll let him at the end here. I'm just going down what we have here. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. Just wanted to report back to Council that Councillor Snively and myself had an informal meeting with Jeff Watson during the Christmas holidays. Very informal. Last minute meeting. Councillor Snively was talking with Jeff Watson and mentioned to him that, you know, if there was money for, again, the harbor, Colchester Harbor, that we would for certain like to see something happen. And I do remember reading a snippet that there was going to be some money announced for harbors coming up for purchasing of harbors. And this was the perfect meeting to try and get this clarified as far as to find out whether or not we would qualify for some of this money. And so the meeting wasn't even in his office, it was at a Tim Hortons. That's how informal it was. But we did receive some good information. He believes that the money that's there is already spoken for. There's projects that have happened over the past few years where different municipalities want to maybe purchase their harbors, but there's some work that needs to be done before the federal government passes them on. But what Councillor Snively and myself have mentioned to Mr. Watson is that perhaps if one of these communities in the meantime had changed their mind and the money didn't have to go towards that particular harbor, perhaps we'd be in a position to take up on those monies that otherwise would have been spent somewhere else. So he did mention to us that it's very important to have that master plan. We started into the master plan 4 years ago with our previous new council. It sort of got lost along the way. We started off with a ginormous master plan that included not just the harbor but several other amenities in the Colchester area, and we never really did get back to it and develop a concept just for the harbor. That's something that's needed. The other thing that's needed at this point in time, and I'm just bringing it up so that we have a discussion in the near future, all previous councils that I've sat on had a desire to make that harbor under the ownership of the town of Essex. And before we do put any time and effort into it, we have to decide very soon here if that's one of the priorities of the town of Essex. We have to have buy-in from council before we can start putting a lot of time and effort in this. I would probably suggest that it's probably something that we would, based on past history of where council, after all the debates, where we always landed. But we did have this informal meeting. I wanted to make sure that the balance of council was, those of you who don't already know, the mayor was already in on this. He was aware of it, as well as some administration. But I wanted to make sure that our entire council was aware of the fact that we had this conversation with our MP, Jeff Watson. One other thing too that's that I wanted to mention was that we do have a new council here. There's a lot of ideas floating around. We do have Mondays very soon here. They're going to start being budget meetings. But I really do believe that even once the budget's done, we need to have those Monday nights available for discussions. And similarly to what our clerk is talking about here, a new parking bylaw. But I would really like to see it regularly scheduled, that we always meet every Monday night as a council, so that we can discuss a lot of these issues. Like I said, there's new people on council here. There's a lot of new ideas floating around. And I think it would be a fantastic idea if we could start brainstorming on those off Monday nights where we don't have public meetings. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Snively, have you hunting licenses?
No, you have,
Oh, you want to talk about what Richard just said?
Yeah,
Okay,
not so
go
much
ahead.
about his
Councillor Rose?
discussion.
Sorry.
If I could, not so much about his discussion with the MP, but when it comes to the Monday night, like, the reality is that I got no problem with trying to stay on top of things, but, you know, we're going to drag administration into 14, 15-hour days every Monday night. And one would suggest, well, I work 50, well, that's fine, you do, but I don't want to drag administration into that. And if it's just council meeting, then let's just council meet. I'm fine. I'll meet with everybody. I don't want to drag administration through the mud. They got families, and they got their own lives. I don't want to do it to them every Monday night.
I would like to be able to do that also, Councillor Folks, but we can't have a meeting without administration there.
That's
You
my
know, it's
point.
just-
Like, I don't want to, my point
I
is,
hear
Your
you.
Worship, I don't want to drag administration, they got families too. I don't want to drag them in here every Monday night. I don't want to do it. If we as a council want to meet and then forward our information we gathered, oh, you're
Can't do
saying we
that.
can't do that?
Yeah, right. Can't do that,
Then
sir.
I don't like that idea.
Deputy Mayor Malash and then Councillor Bundy.
Thank you, through your worship. Maybe what we could do is, and I'm not intending that all of our administration would have to be in on those Monday nights, but whatever particular department that we're talking about, let's say it's a water issue, we bring Andy Graff in, and it doesn't always have to be Cheryl recording. She has other individuals, Robin, Lynn, and maybe Russ could even do it at certain times if Russ was going to be at those meetings, or Donna. It doesn't always have to be Cheryl or somebody like that. I know we've got some things coming up with our master plan for Parks and Rec. We've got drainage issues going on. We've talked about having a drainage committee. I'd like to have a couple of chats with council about whether we want to move forward on this, but is it appropriate to talk about it at our public meeting here, or do we want to talk about it in a learning session where we can just chit-chat about it and try and come up with the best resolve? There's a lot of things that we could be doing. I've talked to a bunch of councillors here about different ideas that they've had that they'd like to see happen over the next 4 years, and I'm sure that we're going to have strategy sessions soon. But this is a good preempt to our strategy sessions for us to be able to have some chit-chats about what's important to us and maybe things that we can move on right away before we even have our strategy session. That's all I'm thinking.
Councillor Bundy?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Malash and Councillor Snively, for meeting with our MP. I think it's important that we have some brainstorming sessions too, and I don't think it has to be year-long, but I think maybe, once we get caught up, maybe one every other month, just something like that. There are some issues, like I would love to have a brainstorming session, for example, to have a list, so that when our mayor or our deputy mayor go to speak to Jeff Watson, we know that we have on there the new Canada Building Fund. And I'm sure Donna could back that up with stats. So when we send our councillors, or when even our councillors are, bumping elbows at an event, they can say, these are the things that Essex Council, this is our highlight. This is what we want you to talk about. And I would like those, if we do go ahead with some of those special meetings, I'd like to have some of them maybe in the McGregor Community Center, maybe in Harrow Center, so that, residents are able to come out to different locations as well. So I support that idea. So thank you. And I think it'll bring a more of a cohesiveness to our council. We can talk about county council issues, because I feel there's a real disconnect between what happens in the communication level at the county and the rest of us on council. So I would like it, even though it may be cumbersome for some of our staff members to start. But I think once we get a grip on things, I think it'll be easy.
Thank you. Councillor Snively.
yeah, through you, Your Worship, getting back to Jeff Watson again, when we met with him, He wanted us to inform him of any of our projects that were coming forward. He said to Richard and I, he'd like to know what council is doing and what type of projects are coming out, because in his sessions when he sits, you know, there is some money that is announced there, and he'll have it in the back of his mind. Look, Essex is looking for funding for this, and he's right there. So he asked Richard and I if council could inform him of any project that was going forward where we're looking for grant money.
It's
Thank
great.
you, sir.
Maximize on the election year.
Yeah. And another thing, he wants to meet. I'd like him to come to council and meet with us. When's our next meeting with him? March? We're meeting with him again in the first week of March. Okay? But I'd like to talk to him, and I'd like him to come to council, you know, and council on the whole, and talk to whole council, and like we're always looking for grant money, let's face it, and it is the election year coming up, and they're going to be throwing some money out here, and I want to be in line for the money.
And I'm not knocking at Jeff Watson. I've met with Jeff Watson, with administration, Donna Hunter, with our projects. Here they are. You know, we were in his office for an hour and a half. Here's what we need, Jeff. Thank you. That's what I need. Deputy Mayor Malash and I met with the finance minister and Jeff Watson. I won't say he promised us, but he did. Fairview Avenue. That's all I have to do. You give me something that you need, and when I speak to it, I get it. You know, and I'm not knocking Jeff, but show us the pudding. Prove it to us. And that's not the only time we've met with them. 3 times we've met over this Fairview Avenue, and that's what he wants. He wants it again, and that's what we're going to give him, Fairview Avenue. Fairview Avenue. We're going to give it to him again, Larry. How many times do you go to the well? And we're going to keep doing it. We will keep doing it. Thank you very much. Hopefully, you guys can get it out of them, because administration and the mayor, the deputy mayor and the mayor, haven't accomplished anything as of yet. So maybe it will be you two guys. Maybe it will be him coming to all of us and hear all of us, you know, give us a sales pitch where we need money. Go ahead, Larry.
Through you, Your Worship, he did bring up, he mentioned Fairview himself that night of the meeting. So just to inform you on that, Fairview, he brought that up. So he is working to get us some funding here, believe me.
And the silo district. We talked about the silo.
Yes, and he talked about the silo district too, so.
We need. Thanks. Councilor Oakes?
All due respect to Jeff Watson, Councillor Snively, really, like, of course he's going to mention Fairview. He's not a political fool. He knows he's got the money. He knows we're moving forward with the project. What do you think he's going to say? Come on. Don't. And by the way, just for the record, don't humble yourself with the reality that you got the chance to talk to Jeff Watson. I spoke to Jeff Watson at Tim Hortons in Essex.
Jeff Watson happens to be a friend of mine.
That's fine. I'm not talking about whether he's a friend or not. I'm talking about his political positions. I'm not talking about, I don't care if he's your friend. I care less if he's your friend. I'm just telling you. Are you going to talk over me? Go ahead. No. Hang on, let me shut, he wants to say something.
No, you're
so
not.
I'll shut this off.
You're going to come through the chair. Never mind, Councillor Vokes. You'll come through the chair, please. You have the floor right now.
I'm just making a point of interest.
Okay.
That I want to make a point of interest that when we put the Spitfire plane up, we approached the federal government for funding. You want to know why we approached the federal government for funding? Because on average, the veterans today in Canada, as a result in fighting in World War II for freedom for our country, get $350 a month. That's what they get. I would like to see what Mr. Watson gets a month, but our veterans today get $350 a month. You want to know what that's for? It's for land care and house maintenance. And if you go in the hospital, you got to let the government know you're in the hospital. You want to know why? Because they're not going to pay you because you're in the hospital. And want to know something? When we went and seen Mr. Watson about $5,000 for the Spitfire plane in terms of recognizing the Canadian veterans, you want to know what he told us when we were there? we'll get you the money. Want to know what happened? 4 weeks later, we went back and asked them for the money. We never got the money.
Okay, Councillor Snively, okay, thank you very much. Okay, enough of that topic, I think. Thank you for the report, Richard and Larry. And Councillor Snively, we have you on the agenda here for hunting license.
Yes, before we get to the hunting license, I have a couple here. Oh, did they leave? Did they get up and leave? That couple just leave? Okay, they left. Okay, on the hunting licenses, I carry a 3-year small game hunting license and a fishing license. And my hunting license, my small game license, that covers rabbit hunting throughout Ontario, and we sell rabbit licenses here. And for me, I forget what the price is I pay for a 3-year small games and 3-year fishing license, but it's around $200. But I can go to Northern Ontario, anywhere in Ontario, and hunt rabbits. I don't need to buy a license. And I just want to bring this forward to council. Like, I think that, I don't think some of the other municipalities don't sell the licenses, and I think that, I don't know the revenue we get off of that. Cheryl, do you know the revenue off of that? Would it be $1,000 maybe, or $800, or what would it be?
Through your version, it's less than $2,000.
Okay, less than $2,000. So when somebody goes in there to get their hunting license, the girls are busy. They have to get up, they walk to the counter, they stop what they're doing to write a $5 hunting license. So I'm just bringing this issue forward. I can hunt rabbits anywhere in Ontario with the small games, and I would just like to see us cease that operation and do away with their rabbit licenses.
Okay, refer to our clerk.
Through your worship, I checked the Ministry of Natural Resources guidelines today, and for pheasant licenses as well as rabbit licenses, a township license is required in addition to a provincial license for hunting pheasants and rabbits in regulated townships, and our municipality is a regulated township, so you do require a license. In conjunction with your hunting version outdoors card and a small game license tag, but because the town of Essex is a regulated area, you do also require a municipal license.
Mr. Stein?
So is each municipality selling these rabbit licenses? Are we selling the license for all the municipalities in this area?
No, we're not. For pheasant, the license is only good for the town of Essex. For rabbit, it's good for all of Essex County.
Sidler, thank you. Councillor Vokes.
Just a point of interest. I didn't realize that our staff was doing that much work to process our hunting license. I think we should bump it up to $20 a license.
Okay, Councillor Bonnie?
Thank you. So the regulation is by the province then? So there's no way we can apply for an exemption? Just probably has to do with what is our zoning, our population, our location?
We're just listed as a regulated township in the Ministry of Natural Resources guideline book. And that's why we require.
I wonder if we can inquire about why we're regulated.
I can check.
I think that would be worthwhile, because I do hear that why do we have to pay a $6 license for rabbits, and I don't think rabbits are endangered.
Anything else? Okay. We now have under new business, Councillor Vokes.
Thank you, Worship. As you all may know, the Essex Ravens are strongly considering the reports of, and the media has, I guess, reported, not our local media, but some media has reported that the Ravens are leaving Essex, And at this place in time, the Ravens have not 100% committed to anybody. And I know there's obviously some conflict, maybe one would suggest with the Ravens, but outside of that, taking personalities out of it, the reality is that the Ravens have a very strong consideration of relocating themselves to another municipality, because the town of Essex, as it stands today, is having a hard time in making that provision in terms of real estate for them to use. We know that the Sun Parlor School put an offer before them that was a little bit challenging to them, and ultimately whatever took place in the boardrooms with Sun Parlor School, they couldn't come up with an agreement. I've had some conversation, obviously, over the last couple of days with Glen Mills and the Ravens, and I am going to suggest to council to have some discussions, because again, it goes back to the silos. We are going to be having discussions in the 2015 budget deliberations that talked to two initiatives. One was the silos in tearing them down, and the second was the old Essex Memorial Arena and tearing it down. But either way, the money has to be spent to tear it down. And the Ravens are harnessed for time. So I'm going to ask council if there would be opportunity, or if there is opportunity through the corporation, to get a request for proposal to tear the arena down, and then somehow work out a collective agreement with whoever the interested party is to do that indicates they will receive that funding once the budget is approved, but actually move forward with tearing the arena down. And the reason I say that is because the Ravens have monies right now to put a dome up. The problem is they don't have no place to put it. And the space would be the arena, where the arena sits today. So it's a great opportunity to keep the Ravens in town, and at the same time get another sports complex put up, or a facility put up, and give us more real estate to do whatever needs to be done in terms of recreational facilities. I'd hate like hell to turn it down or tear it down, Ravens move out, and then we're sitting with another green space that we can't use. So some out of the box thinking and negotiating could get us there, get the Ravens in town to stay, and get the arena tore down, as the financial position is no less, no greater. So I'm just opening that up for some brief discussions. I certainly don't want to be here all night talking about it, but if there's some way we could even do it in principle, or however we could do it.
Okay, I would ask Mr. Sweet a question. Have our negotiations ended, as far as you know, with the Ravens and or the soccer group when it comes to the arena property? Doug?
Through your worship, in terms of repurposing the Essex Memorial Arena, when they came through of actually using it as is, they said they withdrew that offer. They did apply for an Aviva grant for their dome, and they were not successful to go further. I haven't heard any more that they were looking at a dome, just what I read myself in the papers in terms of them and the Greater District School Board.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Bondi.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you. You know, if the Ravens were to come forward and want to use that space after, and if council supported it and it worked with administration, I could certainly support it. I think that that this is what we wanted to see, that them use perhaps a dome, anything to get rid of Memorial Arena. I think several council members, even I think Deputy Mayor Meloche, suggested this idea a year ago. It's unfortunate that it's taken us a year to get to this point now, but I think council's intention is to demolish Memorial Arena. I think that was the intention of the last council anyways. And if we can expedite the process and perhaps get another sports facility here, that's something I support.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Meloche. And council votes.
To Donna Hunter. Do we have money in reserves to tear down the arena right now?
Through your worship, no, we do not. That project was in the budget last year and was removed.
Okay. I just wanted to find out that first. But regardless, I do believe, I'm seeing head shake here, that yes, and I've had conversations with different councilors, I believe that there's a desire to have that torn down this year. I would agree with Councillor Vokes. I think you should make a motion, Councillor Vokes, and let's move forward, get an RFP to get it torn down.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Vokes?
I will put a motion forward that we get a request for proposal to tear it down, and at the same time, we get a legal binding agreement with the Ravens to erect a sports complex there as a result of them endeavors.
Okay. Okay, Deputy Mayor Malash?
Right now, I'd prefer not to tie the two together. I'd rather it be separate and then enter into negotiations with them saying, hey, look, this is something that we'd be willing to, because I haven't seen our master's plan yet. I've got some other ideas in the back of my head that may work as well that I'd like to discuss before we say that's absolutely the location.
If I could real quickly, the reason I want to put that in there is because I know the Ravens are serious. I know they're very serious. That's why I know it's valid enough to even put that in writing. But if council doesn't want to do that, that's okay. I'm happy with the request for proposal just to get it started and start the discussions.
I would agree with Deputy Mayor Malash. I wouldn't want to say, here, we'll do this for you. We haven't even negotiated, anything with these people. Like, it's not here you go, it's yours. Something like that. I think we should do them separately, but definitely get on the move. And I would ask Donna Hunter, we're here again, we're talking $200,000, 2%. Hopefully we can spread this over 5 years and you wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, so when we're doing $200,000, it's a one-shot thing, so here we go. Okay. Councillor Snively?
Through you, Your Worship, I thought we had money in reserves for this. What happened to the money we had in reserves? I thought there was reserves put away for this project.
There was, all the project costs have been spent, what was envisioned in the project, and everything that was left unfinanced has been financed now. The project's closed. There were no reserves for demolishing.
So we just pull reserves and just spend her.
There was no money in reserves originally for it, the demolishing.
I thought there was 200 and some thousand.
No.
Where did that figure come from?
That never was, Larry. No. Council, please. I don't, if I could, Your Worship, I don't want to defend Mrs. Hunter, but I'm going to defend myself as a councillor during that process, as she is suggesting too. There was never, ever, ever any money put towards tearing the arena down. It was always discussions, repurposing, doing this, doing that, and we never committed to Donna Hunter and her Treasury Department as a council to put money aside. Never. It's anybody telling you there's money, there's a sheer fallacy. It was never there. Never.
Okay, Mr. Sweet.
Through Your Worship, I think the number came through because during 2014 budget deliberations, we actually had a quote on that, and it was just $200,000. And then council did not approve it. So that's where that number came from, would have been last year's budget. But it was removed from council.
One last thing, if I could. The reason we didn't do that, because we needed the money so bad in other areas, and we didn't define what we were doing at the arena exactly. And that goes back to when I said August 18th, this council better come ready to tear those two places down. And we never done it.
Mr. Snively.
I agree that it has to come down. So if we need a motion for that, yeah, if you got the motion for it, let's move on with it and let's get her down.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. I'm going to have the clerk read it because I forget exactly what it was.
Moved by Councillor Vokes, seconded by Deputy Mayor Malash, that an RFP be prepared to demolish the Essex Memorial Arena in 2015.
Everyone knows the question. Are all ready? All in favor?
Okay.
Motion carried. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Councillor Snively?
Yeah, getting back to the Essex Ravens, I think Randy's right. We should come into some kind of agreement. As soon as that arena does come down, we hate to lose the Essex Ravens here. You know, they are seriously thinking about moving, and we should tie that up so that does not happen in our municipality here. But I agree with the councillor folks there.
I agree also, but we're not chasing them people.
No.
They're going to come to us. You know, they're going to hear that it's coming down. If you want something to happen in Essex with regards to that property, come and see us. You know. Okay, go ahead, Larry.
And another thing, I watched the meeting when Mr. Mills was here, and nobody has to take that abuse. And I don't think anybody on council or anybody in administration has to take that abuse. But your worship, you're the one that called him back into the meeting. I would have let him leave, and he wouldn't have got back into another meeting with that kind of attitude. That's my opinion, and that should never happen. You don't come to council and swear at administration in a rant and walk out of here.
And you're right, sir, but I handled it properly. According to our CAO, he'd have done the same thing. Am I going to sit here and argue with him like we do as council members? Absolutely not. He had his say, and it was done, as you saw, that fast. I had no chance to stop him, neither did anybody else. Excuse me, Councillor Vogt.
No, I'm not, no.
Excuse me, I have the
Because I'm
floor,
not going to
sir.
let us sit here as a council and talk about Glenn Mills
And I'm
when he's not here to defend
listen
himself.
to you talk
He's
when I have the floor.
We are not going to talk about taxpayers when they're not here to defend themselves. That's not
Is
fair.
Mr. Watson here? Was
That's
anybody
not
else
fair.
here that
He's
you
a
spoke about,
representative.
sir?
He's a representative.
And Councillor Vogt,
He's a
this is the last
representative.
time. I'm not going to ask you one more time because I'm going to ask you to leave or call a recess, whatever you want.
I just don't think it's fair we talk about Mr. Mills.
Council members, do you want him removed or you just want him recess? I'm asking you because you have the power to ask this gentleman to leave if he's not going to follow our rules. Oh, you're not. You hear that, eh? You hear that, you people? Does anybody support the mayor and all of us? Deputy Mayor Malash, go ahead. You can speak louder than him. You quit talking, period. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I am. Go ahead.
What I would suggest is that if somebody's uncomfortable about what somebody else is saying, you let them say their piece anyway, and then afterwards you state your position.
Look at
So-
Mr. Malash. If somebody was talking about me when I'm not here to defend myself and I found out about it, I'd be here. You're not going to do that. We're not going to talk about taxpayers when they're not here to defend themselves and say it's all right because it's not, under no conditions.
I never said it was okay.
That's
You
right.
just said.
No, I never said it was
Bring it
okay.
back.
But
I can call a recess. I don't need their permission.
but what I'm suggesting is that anybody here.
Okay, if he says one more thing when someone else is speaking, I am calling a recess. I could care less who he's talking to or against, because it's terrible the way he treats all of us.
I'm not treating anybody
Okay,
bad. I'm defending
we have a
myself.
5-minute recess right now.
We're done for the night.
You leave.
Recess? No, we're not.
That's right.
I'm not going to talk to Mr. Mills when he's not here to defend himself. That's not fair. It's not fair, and if anybody thinks it is fair, it's not. It's not fair. Look at, he started the conversation about Larry Mills. He should have stopped him. Or Glenn Mills, he should have stopped him before he even...
It's wrong to interrupt anybody that's speaking as well.
Well, maybe it is, but I'm not what am I interrupting? The fact that they're talking about a taxpayer? And we think that's all right? It's not. It's not. I'm not going to let it happen. Ridiculous.
should have and just put an end to it without arguing with them. But I was kind of hoping that we'd all gang up on them tonight, but that didn't happen, and I should have done it myself. So we were, Councilor Bondi, I think you're next.
Thank you.
We had no motion there.
I just have 2 quick notices of motion. I won't be here for the first meeting in February, but I would really like council to have a discussion about approving the CAT vouchers ahead of the budget in 2015, because as we know, the vouchers are time sensitive. And I think each council member has to decide for themselves whether they're going to support the vouchers or not. And if you're going to support them, we have to support them sooner rather than later. The paperwork takes 6 weeks to process. By the time we get the vouchers out, cats are pregnant, and it's throwing good money after bad. So I would like to have that discussion at February 16th meeting, please. The second notice of motion that I'd like to have, hopefully at the February 16th meeting, is to have council have a discussion about how we elect our deputy mayor, and having the possibility of electing a deputy mayor at large. And that could be a big conversation, but I think it's fresh, and I think, and rather than, we all get busy doing other things and it's year 3 and we haven't had that conversation, I think we should start to have that conversation. That's it.
Clerk, Cheryl?
Through your worship. Through your worship, the Director of Corporate Services and I have talked about this. This is on my list of tasks. That is an ongoing list. I would like to have proper time to research it, and for the second meeting in February, I don't think I would have enough time, but it is something on our radar. We will do that this year, and we will report back to council on that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
That's it, Jerry? Councilor Vokes, I think you had 2 items that you... But you had 2 issues you wanted to bring up. Did you bring them both up? Oh, okay. Deputy Mayor Meloche and then Councilor Caxero.
Just had a question. So on the CAT vouchers, we'll have some kind of report come forward to let us know how they've been used in the past and so on. Okay. And the second issue that Cheryl was talking about is the method of how we elect you've got that on your agenda. Okay, very good, thank you.
Councilor Caxero.
Through your worship, I'd like to speak on both of those issues. I did get a call from a Ward 3 resident with regard to feral cats. That's maybe kind of how this, I think there was some mention of it prior to that even. And he did have that concern that
Billy, I gotta, excuse me. Notice there's a motion, you don't speak on them. She's just bringing it to our attention that down the road someplace, so clerks inform me. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Through your worship, when it's a notice of motion, Councillor Bondi is letting us know she's bringing this to the next council meeting. At that time, you will speak to the subject.
just only because I had a constituent.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that, I'm definitely in support of bringing that forward.
If it's a notice of motion, it's not being dealt with this evening.
Right.
That's why she's putting us on notice. So if you have anything, you bring it up when she
understand.
brings the motion forward at their next meeting.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any comment? Anything? Deputy Mayor Meloche. Motion to adjourn. Always in order, sir. No, that's fine. Mr. Brutkin, all in favor? Motion carries. Have a great evening.